All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down the very first, and you could argue the most crucial step of the TNFD's LEAP approach. It all comes down to answering one really fundamental question to even get started on your nature-related risk assessment.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. If you're part of any large organization with operations, suppliers, and customers all over the planet, where does your business actually physically interface with the natural world?
For a huge multinational company or a global bank, the answer can feel, well, completely overwhelming, right? Your value chain might touch thousands of different locations. And as the TNFD guidance itself points out, trying to trace every single one of those connections, it's not going to happen. It's basically impossible.
And that, right there, is exactly why the LEAP approach starts where it does, with this locate phase. This isn't about boiling the ocean and doing everything at once. No. It's about being smart. It's about knowing exactly where to focus your attention first. Now, just so we're all on the same page, locate is the foundation. It's step one in a 4-part process. After this comes evaluate, then assess, and finally prepare. Everything you do later on in the analysis totally depends on the work you do right here in this initial phase. So, here's the key takeaway. The whole point of the locate phase is to act as this powerful filter. It helps a company take that gigantic, overwhelming map of global interactions and intelligently narrow it down to something you can actually get your arms around, a manageable list of priorities. So, how do you actually do that? How do you get from everywhere to a handful of specific places? Well, the TNFD gives us this really clear 3-question funnel to guide the whole thing. Let's walk through it. Step 1, or L1, is all about getting the big picture. You have to understand the full scope of your business, so you cast the widest net possible. You map out all of your company's activities. What sectors are we in? What do our supply chains look like? And maybe most importantly, where in the world are we? Okay, now that you've got this giant map, we start to filter. This is L2. You screen all those activities and ask a simple question. Which of these businesses and operations are known to have potentially high dependencies or high impacts on nature? This is how you start to separate the signal from all the noise. And that brings us to the very tip of the funnel, L3. Now you take that shorter, prioritized list of high-impact activities and you get really specific. Where exactly do these things intersect with the natural world? Which biomes, which actual ecosystems are we touching? And when you follow this funnel all the way down, you get to the real prize of the locate phase. You've identified a priority list of what the TNFD calls ecologically sensitive locations. This is where you need to focus. And when we say locations, we're talking about specific, often vulnerable places. I mean, imagine literally zooming in on a map to a vibrant tropical forest, or a delicate coral reef, or an area that's under massive water stress. These are the hotspots where your business interface could have really big consequences. Now, the official TNFD definition here is key. They say these are areas where your connection to nature can expose your organization to elevated risks and opportunities. And what that really means is, these are the places where you'll find risks that probably aren't showing up in your normal risk register. And look, this isn't just some vague idea. The TNFD gives you a very clear checklist. A place is officially sensitive if it meets just one of these 5 criteria you see here. It could be an area that's critical for biodiversity, or has high water risk, or just has a really healthy or rapidly declining ecosystem. Okay, so you've gone through the funnel, you've identified your sensitive spots, but why does any of this mapping stuff really matter to the business? How does this actually connect to the bottom line? The TNFD guidance itself could not be more direct on this. It literally says it is critical for organizations to pay attention to these places because it's right here that some of your most significant and often totally hidden financial risks are lurking. And you basically uncover 2 big buckets of risk. You've got physical risks, that's the direct stuff, like what if water scarcity literally shuts down your factory? And then you've got transition risks, which come from the world shifting around you. Think new regulations or your brand getting hammered for operating in a sensitive area. So here's the bottom line. The locate phase takes a company from this vague feeling that nature is important to a concrete, strategic, evidence-based risk management process. It gives you the where so you can start figuring out the what and the how. Which, of course, leads us to the big question. You've done all this work. You've pinpointed your priority spots. So what now? What do you actually do with that information? Well, that's exactly what the next phase of the LEAP approach is all about.